in today's video, we're going over September predictions. As you know, if you're familiar with my channel, when it comes to these monthly videos, I really focus on things like money and career, love, both for yourself as well as with another person, whether you are single or with someone else. I like to look into the type of questions you're not potentially asking yourself, but you need to ask yourself, things to look out for, to get excited about, or to be aware of. Whatever you need to know, it will be popping up in today's reading. In addition to that, I wanted to let you guys know, if you're interested in supporting me, I have a Patreon where I put over there exclusive content. I am so proud of it. Some of you have left and I've read the kindest compliments about my Patreon over there. I work very hard to make a lot of content. I actually just made a huge directory, so it's much easier to find which video you want to look at first. But I do everything over there, from guided meditations. We just did one about how to remove your biggest blockage when it comes to your psychic abilities. I saw a lot of beautiful breakthroughs over there. I was so happy to see that. I go to the Akashic records and I talk to my spirit guides as well as my own personal experience to look into the basically answers from the questions you guys are asking over there. And we pretty much like explore the cosmos, get deeper into life and spirituality, and basically what it all means, and incorporating it into our regular lives, which is really fun. And I love seeing you guys put out some really great, deep, contemplative thoughts, and we actually go deeper into that, which I love. I just posted 2 videos over there. One is about, do spirit guides understand and comprehend, human emotion? Do they get it when we go through things? And the answer will surprise you, because it not only goes into the answer itself and what that exactly means, but it goes into understanding where we can go as individuals past our initial blockages and healing, and that there is maybe a side of yourself you didn't even know you can sort of explore. And honestly, I find it super helpful, especially if you're empathic and you struggle with other people's energies and stuff like that. So that really just was a wonderful question that led into an interesting conversation, as per usual when it comes to this type of the content I make over there. But the other video was actually about Dragon, the animal spirit guide Dragon. And fun fact, animal spirit guides don't exist unless they have existed at some point in time in some way. And that includes animals that are extinct. And I wanted to talk about this previously because this was asked before, but I wasn't given permission yet. And now I am given permission to not only talk about Dragon, but just the idea of other animal spirit guides that you'd be surprised that exist. And then that makes you only ask more questions. But that's all talked about over there. So just letting you know that's available. I also just want to let you guys know, as per usual, I have an intuition training course, which I've heard some of you say, I'd like to go to the spirit realm. Guess what? In the intuition training course, it talks about how to go to the spirit realm. But here's an important thing. It's more than that. It's about going to the spirit realm. It's about meeting your spirit guides, but understanding the overlap between the non-physical and the physical world, and how much a lot of things you're asking and wondering can actually be overlapped onto each other, and how to do that. And I'm very, very proud of that course. I love it so much. Those same techniques I am showing in the course there, I use to this day. It's extremely just something of a pride of joy I had in creating that. And in addition to that, I'm also very proud of my tarot training course I also have available, because it comes with a 100-page PDF that enables you to get instantly into reading tarot. But the fun thing about the program is it's a very fun, simple process. So it enables you to get into reading the cards right away, but it helps you not lose any of the detail, but look at the cards in a much more artistic, metaphorical sense you might not have realized before. So you can get even more out of, it's not how many cards you pick, not that it's negative. If you want to pull more cards, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But showing how much you can get from so little and how you can do it right away. Just very proud of all that. But let's get back to our card reading. As you can see, we have 4 groups in front of us. So you're going to think about September. Maybe you're going to think of some sort of association. Maybe you have fall leaves, or maybe that's more of an October thing. You're going to think about what you feel like is important to you, whatever it is. You're going to hold that idea in your head, and you're going to pick from group number 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate most with. Now that you've done that, you can go down to the description to skip to your designated group. And let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's look at your September predictions by looking at the cards. We have Oracle card, Dry Desert. Did you ever, as a kid or potentially as an adult, like struggle between spelling desert and dessert? I feel like that's the most common thing people deal with. 5 of Pentacles in reverse. Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Wow, this is a theme. 3 of Swords in reverse. Yep, theme. 7 of Wands in reverse. Theme. 10 of Cups in reverse. Okay. I'm having a feeling this is a super detailed, intricate, confirming message. Give me 1 second to look at the details and consult my spirit guide. Yeah, we have a lot of confirming cards. I'm gonna just push that back a little bit. Okay, so before we get into this, this is so heavily focused on one concept that gets broken down in a lot of detail. So when this type of thing pops up in your own tarot readings, if you're a new tarot reader and you're enjoying the tarot training course, or if you're just a tarot reader yourself, sometimes cards are interconnecting and they just keep repeating an idea over and over and over again because it's important. It's like saying, like, 1's not going to answer it. You need 2 reassurance. You need 3 reassurance. But what's really cool is this reading in particular is opening a discussion of where ideas have come from, where they're going, where they're left behind, motivations, understanding what ideas you can connect to, so that it's not just a confirmation, but it's like an understanding of both. Some ideas are things you put into action, like right now, to make it effective, and other things are trusting and knowing that it will happen, but understanding how to be proactive about that trust and everything like that. So I love this because this lets me know it's that important to you as the person enjoying this reading, and that we can really when you're going through something like this, you kind of need all the little questions answered. It's not enough to be like, it's gonna be fine. You're like, no, I need a little more specificness. And guess what? We're gonna get really specific. So first we have definitely sort of a theme, if you will, the beginning of the card reading in this Oracle reading. This is actually being read and really interesting, both in a chronological way, but it's almost like a past, future motivations. You'll see how it all interlocks. In Dry Desert, this is about the idea of when someone feels like they're going through a tough time because they're without. This could feel like you're dried up creatively. Maybe you don't feel like there's enough love in you to either give to other people or even yourself. Maybe you feel like you're not making the type of connections you want to make. It could be financial. The interesting thing here is my spirit guide said that for you, these are all interconnected, and that you need to pay attention to when you are going through these things and you feel off, because it's not necessarily that you're wrong or anything's wrong with you. It's sort of like an inner warning system of saying, like, hey, we don't feel great right now, but if we feel great, everything kind of comes into alignment and works really well together. So it wouldn't be uncommon for you to have one thing go well and then like a lot of other things seem to work out all at once. So this is beautiful and awesome and amazing. So when we talk about this idea, though, of feeling like there's a lack of, it actually comes with a positive message too, because when we are going through that type of time period in our life, and it can be initially when you're going through it, you're like, I feel without, and I'm not loving this. But this card also asks you to think about animals that survive in the desert. They become very strong and they adapt, and they are quite proficient at surviving. And it's this idea that there is something of value you're gaining during this time period before you move into sort of the oasis, the better, more abundant time period in your life. And you're learning something now that will be of value in the long run that you can bring into it. But you can only gain that value from going through this time period. So like a good example of this, and my spirit guide said like I should share this. So different time periods in my experience of going to the spirit realm and like developing my abilities of being able to comprehend everything and see everything and that growing and all that jazz. I actually went through time periods where like I go from like seeing everything and I was like there to things were very blurry, or this is really hard to explain. It was like it was darker and I could see it, but it just wasn't in the same sort of spatial awareness and details, or it's like I knew psychically I was talking to my spirit guide and I was in the spirit realm, but I didn't have the same level of like, yes, I'm here, I can see things, and so on and so forth. And that was quite frustrating for me at that time. And when I was going through that, it definitely left me feeling discouraged. But I ended up learning in the long run from that experience that I learned to see in a different way. I learned to see through belief. And I don't just mean blindly being like, oh, I believe. I mean, like, that's great too. I mean, like, my spirit guides were like, well, you know we're in front of you, right? And I was like, yeah, actually, like I do. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but for sure, yes, I do. And they're like, why do you feel like see us? And I was like, well, because I believe I do. And it was a sort of feeling that went through me and a knowing on a more psychic level. And I was able to develop a certain level of trust and understanding with myself and that environment, so that when I grew and I could see again, and I went through my sort of drier desert, if you could put it that way, I ended up then relying on that ability at different time periods, because sometimes when you experience spiritual upgrades, it's sort of like an overload of energy and it can be kind of a lot. And when you're going through this sort of transitional time period, it's so much that it can make you think that like, oh, what's happening? How do I comprehend this? And because I could rely on different ways of perception, I could then be like, oh, everything's cool. I'm just perceiving it a different way temporarily right now because I'm overloaded on like energy and stuff like that. So that's like a good example of like what is of value in September during that time period. And what are you learning? Like, how are you becoming a stronger individual? What are you seeing that maybe others aren't? And being able to realize that it is a strength and you're going to use it in the long run. So it's, instead of it feels less of a time period of lacking and feels like more of a time period of growing and developing skills, that it's almost like a cool thing. It's like, ooh, I know something you don't know because I'm going through this. I'm seeing the world in a different way that you're not, kind of thing. So that's the first thing. It's both the reassurance that it's just in September, because I did get told by my spirit guide, but we can see the confirming cards here, and here, all moving out, leaving it behind. So while this is a time period in September of the like feeling like you're without, you're just temporarily going through it. You have been going through it. It's going to continue in September. You will have, and I'm happy to say it's going to go in some positive, it's not only feeling of lack, there's a lot of positive epiphanies going on at this time period, but it's only in September, and you're going to leave it behind in September as you go into October, which is fantastic because it makes it a lot easier to get through things when you're like aware of some time processes of like, okay, I just got to tough it out for a little bit longer. Now, continuing that idea, we get that confirmation card. Confirmation cards are like cards that have similar concepts, similar themes, similar imagery. So we can see that they're all walking out this way towards September. But in the Five of Pentacles, again, we get, again, from the tarot training course, we're always looking for subtext. So the cool thing about this card is it talks about the idea of lacking. This is a lacking mindset. This is when you find yourself being like, I can't connect to the idea of hope and belief. I don't know how other people can see that. Or this is like a common thing when you're in that headspace. It's easy for them. When in reality, it might appear that way, but I'm telling you right now, everyone's been where you've been. Everyone knows what you've been through. It just feels like that. But everybody has overcome it. You'll overcome it. You've probably been through this before in your lifetime. It's just a temporary mindset. But with it being in reverse, it implies you overcoming that mindset. And the big thing with the Five of Pentacles is, especially when it comes to like money and love and that type of thing, it's the idea that what has been blocking you from receiving those things is because you're so acutely giving attention to that idea, and you're creating an inner monologue in your head of like, well, it's easy for them, not me, why does it happen to me? And when you're coming into a Five of Pentacles in reverse situation or belief system, you're more in that headspace of being like, you know what, maybe it is possible. You know, I think I can see now that belief is something I could exercise, and I'll believe that I'm already worth it. I'll believe that money can come to me easily. I believe that I'm worthy of love and that I'll find the answers I'm looking for, and so on and so forth. My spirit guide did say that throughout the month, it's sort of like a natural process that you're opening yourself up. You're like ready, you're in that headspace in September. So even though, again, you feel the sense of lacking initially, you will have these beautiful epiphanies in that way. And it's important that when you have these epiphanies, that you practice them. It's more than having a moment of going, wow, you know what? I never realized that maybe other people have been through what I've been through, and they just started practicing a sort of sense of openness. And maybe if I practice openness, I'm sort of opening up that possibility to myself, and I too can exercise it. I too can get out of this, so to speak. And then after having that epiphany, you regularly practice it. But I want to be clear, epiphanies come in like really fun, mysterious ways. You might hear a song lyric and have a breakthrough. You might hear the tail end of someone's conversation. It has nothing to do with your dilemma, but it just sort of resonates, and you're just kind of thinking about it in that way. And it's about holding that in your head and then practicing it going forward. So definitely catch yourself if you keep repeating inner monologues that anything that just kind of implies there's no possibility, because that's actually not true. There is so many timelines, there are so many dimensions, there are so many ways and facets the world works in ways you might not even fully understand at this moment. There is literally always a possibility for things to get better, solutions, whatever you want to come true. Don't worry, there is. It's just about giving sort of an open mentality that there's a possibility and allowing yourself to be in a position of receiving it. So if you catch yourself saying a bunch of negative stuff, just try to catch yourself and be like, it's okay that I feel this way, but I'm open to these things changing. That's like a great jargon to sort of give yourself comfort. Anyways, going on, we get again additional confirmation card, that idea of the leaving of the lacking in September. So it's leaving in September. It's something you're going through. You're having epiphanies, but then you're leaving it behind. You're going through what you need to get to leave it behind. But what's so cool in the Knight of Pentacles is, again, subtext. When it's normally upright, it's a slow card. It takes forever. It implies like you're gonna get there in the end, but oh my goodness, it's taking a while. I'm happy to report, with it being in reverse, this is implying that you've been through it for a while, but you're finally coming to the end. It's speeding up. The epiphanies are speeding up. The connection, the feel goods, the realizing you can finally let it go, the awareness of it all, it's speeding up. And this is what's really cool. Remember we talked about the idea of the greater good with gaining a certain sense of strengths during that time period in the dry desert card? That idea gets confirmed again, whenever there's repeating ideas, confirmation cards, it just keeps reiterating the importance of this. And things, when they are important, give them attention. They're real. They're significant to you. And so when we talk about the importance, the Knight of Pentacles is a for the greater good card. It's so fantastic in that way. It's this idea that the journey's super lovely and important, and you gain a lot of value in the in-between. And in the end, you'll end up looking back and really being like, wow, that was a really fun time period in my life. I found the fun in it. But it's this idea that when you get to the end, it's no longer just about receiving whatever you're hoping to receive. Again, this could be self-discovery, love, money, maybe you're going through an emotional time in your life, whatever it is. It's about receiving it and really fully understanding why and how, and getting more than you even thought you could receive in the end. So this is like saying, guess what? You're gonna make it through it, and it's gonna even be better than what you anticipated. And it's something that gives a person a lot of like maturity. It gives them a lot of understanding of the world. It makes them feel more often like connected and empowered. So this is fantastic, because isn't that great to know that the time period you've been going through is of value, that it's not been any time waste or anything wrongdoing, but something that you're better understanding and can use in the long run. Who doesn't love hearing that? Continuing on though, we can see some past and motivations. The main thing that kicked all of this off is my spirit guide talks about this idea of like a great loss. And when we have the Three of Swords in reverse, this talks about the idea of when you've gone through something really painful. Maybe you lost someone, or you had a pretty bad breakup, or maybe, I mean, this can even include when friendships are ending, or maybe you went through a difficult time in your life where people weren't kind to you. I mean, it could be anything. It's like, it's intense. When we have a Three of Swords, it's like this really stuck on you for a while and is something you've been kind of carrying with you for some time. Well, the cool part is when it's let me take back that jargon. Hold on. Don't worry, it's gonna get good, but I used the wrong jargon here. In the Three of Swords in reverse, this implies, understandably so, when you've been going through a tough time, you're sort of sweeping it under rug. You're like, I don't want to face it right now. I don't want to deal with it. It's too tough. It's too difficult. It's too emotional. It's too serious. And you just kind of want to speed up the process. And this is what sort of initially started that kind of lacking. It's like you didn't want to face it. Now, on one hand, understandable. That's how it feels when we go through a Three of Swords circumstance. It's that serious. We want to just move on. But it is important to understand where that motivation, or where that kind of like what sort of started it all, if you will, into the dry desert. Because if you would like to be self-aware of any sort of patterns or cycles or loops, and you start to notice again a dry desert experience, you could then be like, hey, what am I avoiding that's creating literally a lacking? What am I, a good way to think about this is, in life, there's so many different facets of who we are and what we're experiencing. So it's sort of like you were pushing out a part of yourself. It might have been hard to face, but it's still who you are. And think of it as like a part of your soul experienced it, and you're sort of rejecting a part of yourself. Even though that's not fun and it's so serious that you went through whatever you went through, that part of your soul and that part of yourself doesn't deserve to be cut out. You are not without, you are with, and it's that idea of, and this is where it gets extended upon, which I love. So, and we're going to extend off that idea in 1 second. In the Seven of Wands in reverse and the 10 of Cups in reverse, this is really important because this goes with the concept of like where it all started, the motivation. So in the Seven of Wands in reverse, it's this idea of somebody who is upset. Like someone did something to you and you felt not happy towards them. It was intense. And this is when it's in reverse, it's sort of like you letting go, releasing, realizing again, these motivations and emotions caused a lot of this sort of separation within yourself, and you letting go and being able to realize that holding resentment for this person is only hurting yourself, and sort of getting into a better peace of mind and connection with yourself, and focusing more on that is the thing that sort of propels you out of this circumstance, understanding where it came from so that you can be aware to not have it repeat again and learn from it. But also, when we have the 10 of Cups in reverse, and I love what my spirit guide was saying, they said, this person who made you feel this way, that brought this out of you, that did this to you, this circumstance you went through, they made you think that they somehow could take away your happiness, that somehow your happiness was on a pedestal and it was reachable and takeable by other people. But that is just simply not true. They made you think that. They make it feel like that. But in reality, it's not something anyone can take from you. And realizing that it's still within you and that it's actually unreachable from other people, and instead focusing more of your attention into tapping back into that and making that beautiful connection of being like, wow, you know what? No one can take this from me. This is mine. And then being able to like face that and letting go, it all beautifully comes together into a wonderful September where it's like a deep sense of like healing, making connections that are extremely helpful in the future, and basically opening up this pathway that you go into out of September into remember, this is all interconnected. So it's not only feeling better about yourself and your circumstance and feeling like you can breathe and feeling aware and connected to everything, but being able to then open yourself up to abundance with money, love, self-discovery, everything. Yours is very interconnected. And once you sort of open yourself up in that kind of way, it's this beautiful domino effect. Because who doesn't love getting what they want, but also feeling amazing at the same time? And again, I want to be clear. This is not to tell you like, let go, stop being mad at them. This is you naturally having that awareness and that sort of breakthrough of where you'd rather put your attention yourself. And that beautiful breakthrough and awareness that what you thought they took, they could never take. And that you can instead, so to speak, take it back within yourself and connect to it again and have it again. So I love this for you. This is beautiful. This is amazing. Tons of confirmation cards that finally this is coming to an end. And just in general, get excited and get ready, because when you're prepping in the dry desert for such an abundant time period going into out of September, it's basically like, get prepared. Are you ready? You're going to be able to handle it no problem, because you'll have the skills to work with it. So anyways, please give this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps my videos get viewed. I appreciate it so much. Either way, I am wishing you the best. I love you. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye. Let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out your September predictions by looking at the cards. We have, that's Gentle, right? Gentle Gardener, Oracle card in reverse. I already have a feeling why that is, with the Queen of Swords upright. Ooh, but we have the Magician card upright. Yeah, my spirit guide's confirming that. The Page of Cups in reverse. A 2 of Wands upright. And the 8 of Wands upright. Huh. These are definitely connected. I wonder if these are connected. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just going to look at all of this, and I'm also going to consult my spirit guide. Give me just 1 moment to do that. Interesting. Okay, yeah, they are interconnected. Okay, so I love this. September is going to be a very rewarding month, is the best way I can put it. Like when it comes to receiving manifestations and stuff like that. But let's get a little specific about some things you do need to focus on in order to make that happen, and some things to be aware of. So first, start with Gentle Gardener in reverse. It's slightly negative, but it's actually quite helpful. So it's this idea that when you are going, putting out into the world, this is the thing I want, or this is what I'd like to manifest, or I wish I could be that, or whatever it is. There's still like this little, it's like you wish for it, and then there's this tiny little disbelief that comes up right afterwards. And you don't necessarily believe and agree with it fully. And the idea behind it is that when you are cultivating these ideas and you would like them to happen, or you're manifesting, whatever, you're essentially creating a garden. But every time you have this sort of disbelief in yourself, this idea that, well, it's not likely, or I'm not sure if it will really happen. I have a little bit of a, maybe you have a little bit of like a past with being like, oh, this doesn't happen enough, so clearly it's not going to happen again. It's that type of concept where it definitely gives me subtext that maybe you've been trying to believe for a while and it hasn't been adding up. So there comes a little bit of disbelief over time. But it's this idea that when you do that, you're creating weeds, so to speak, in your garden. And that when that happens, you then are basically messing up the sort of ecosystem, if you will. And you're more than capable of creating flowers and fresh vegetables, if you will, and fruit and anything you can imagine when it comes to accomplishing your garden. Now, we can actually better understand why it is that you do this when it comes to both subtext, but the next card, which is the Queen of Swords. So this is somebody who is very connected to the truth and just being real with themselves and the world. So it's like you kind of either don't want to get your hopes up, or again, when I look at the subtext of this card, this implies, look, well, where would your truth come from if you have that slight disbelief in the idea happening or yourself? Well, maybe it's because enough times it didn't happen, so they're starting to be like, well, the truth is it doesn't happen for, you know, you kind of concept. That's where like you're building up in your head, right? But here's the thing. Just because it hasn't happened in the past doesn't mean it can't happen now. You never know what headspace you were previously in, that maybe you were all the time practicing this in some type of subtle way, and that was the initial problem, whatever it is. And that the truth is, there is always a possibility. There's too many timelines. There's too many ways things can work out through so many behind the scenes moments, interactions, people you can interact with. The reality is there is literally always some sort of possibility. Usually the possibility is much greater than you may realize. And it's just about realizing that and connecting to that. So my spirit guide was giving me a great technique for you to practice when it comes to then putting out your manifestations, and then basically not then right afterwards putting yourself down, putting the idea down. And again, if you do it at first because you're not, you know, you're practicing it, don't beat yourself up about that. Understand that it takes practice, but if you start practicing, eventually the habit can build and it will become second nature. But essentially what you're going to do is, when you go to manifest and you're wishing for something and you want something, whatever that be, you're going to kind of just not say anything for a couple seconds. So you're sort of clearing your head. You're going to then manifest it. After you manifest it, you say some sort of statement you'd like to happen. You're going to then pause, not give any sort of emotional reaction to what's going to, like maybe your initial sort of feelings flooding in. If it is disbelief, this is sort of, think of this as like leftover residual energy within yourself. And you're just going to let that filter out. You're not going to give it any attention. You're going to give it a couple seconds. And then once you pause long enough, good like 3 or 5 seconds, let yourself then think about what you just manifested again and realize that you're only bringing up this disbelief because it's so important for you to connect to the truth. If you give yourself enough space to let the other filtered noise pass through, you'll end up connecting to the truth that you are good enough, that it is very possible for you to receive X, Y, and Z. And we're talking both material possessions, interactions, connections, epiphanies, anything your heart desires. And that once you allow yourself to realize that your need and just general desire to connect to that truth is actually a beautiful blessing, that you can use it to your advantage, the more you will then be able to sort of separate the noise, if you will, of disbelief, and then be able to connect more to the inexplainable sort of resonated truth of that it is possible. And the more you practice that, the more you will then be able to have basically your garden, you're basically then filling it with more seeds, more nutrients, more water, whatever that is, through being like, you know what, I do resonate with this being a possibility. You see what I'm saying? Now, going on to that idea, we have the Magician card, which my spirit guide was telling me that it's a fantastic month for manifesting, but that you need to do it regularly. And again, this is just another little tip or trick. Just to condense, so this isn't the longest reading ever, go check out on my channel here I have a video specifically about a manifestation technique. Just type in like, you know, Supermoon Tarot manifestation trick or manifestation or whatever within this channel. And there's a specific technique that I really explain in depth about how simple it is, things to keep in mind, how to practice it. I love it so much. Not only have I seen extremely positive effects for me and benefits for me, but whenever I've given it to friends, I've seen like overnight them blooming and doing really well at it. I've shared it over on my Patreon as well, and I've seen them do incredibly well with it and have immediate results. And it's the type of thing that you want to practice, because here's the interesting thing when it comes to manifesting in general. It's a muscle. It's something you have to exercise. So what you're going to do throughout September is you're clearing out, you know, those negative thoughts. As we exercised over here, we understand why you've had them and where it's coming from and how you can actually use that natural way that you express yourself and connect to things in a way that's more beneficial. And that all leads you to successfully manifesting. But in order to be able to have this happen, you need to practice it. So I highly recommend looking up that technique, and then practicing it. But the idea is that you're going to practice it regularly throughout the day. You're going to want things. You're going to wish for anything from good parking spaces to hanging out with a particular friend to maybe you would love to just receive like a present, or you'd love some more money. And I would definitely, my spirit guide said you should definitely consider generalizing things when you get into like a negative headspace. So if you feel like you get into your head about the idea of specifics, then just focus on general concepts. So like, let's say you would like to receive more money. Instead of thinking about like a number or where you would receive it, just keep it super general. Money is always coming my way. I'm a money magnet. It's really, opportunities are constantly coming my way. And just kind of keep it as vague as possible, things like that, to open up the floodgates more. And if the same comments or sentences that you sort of repeated to yourself make you get into a certain headspace, stop saying them and say something else so that you don't kind of get into that headspace. You know what I mean? Now, going on from that concept, this is actually all interconnected back to this main concept, because like I said, September is a fantastic month for manifesting, for you, for manifesting and receiving it, exercising it, and then getting to enjoy the benefits right in that time period, which is fantastic. But we want to be aware of some distractions and some understandings. So over here in the Page of Cups, this is specifically for single people. There is somebody who is going to want to romantically try to get your attention, and you should actually ignore them. Unfortunately, it's going to be very nice. They're giving you compliments, you feel special, but the thing is, they are really kind of doing it for themselves. When people sometimes, I don't know how to put this any other way, they're like tooting their own horn. They are super, like, they're like, wow, look at me, I'm so charming. Like, they're in their own head about what they're expressing. They're their own main character, I guess, but not maybe in the most positive light for other people. So it's that type of mentality. So you feel initially like excited about whatever they're offering, but it's sort of like a dead end, if you will, for where it can actually go, because they're really just doing it to be excited about their own efforts and their own selves, rather than, it's like they're more hearing their own words rather than making the connection that you potentially might think you're feeling and stuff like that. And the reason why you don't want to let them distract you is you've got a great glow going on. So here in the Two of Wands, this is you. You're feeling yourself, you're in your flow, you're manifesting, receiving your manifestations, you're understanding what you're connected to and what you want, and you're vibing and you're happy and you're excited. And essentially you want to not get distracted by this, because think of this as like a fun little test from the universe, if you will. As you notice, we don't have any judgment cards, but when we're shining real bright, sometimes it attracts people who want sort of a piece of that, if you will. And this is you exercising, understanding that's a thing, and exercising, ignoring it, and not giving it attention and letting it distract you from your more headspace. Because remember, if you are interested in meeting someone else, there will be others, and they will genuinely mean it, and they want to add to your light, not sort of just be a part of the magnetism of it all and then leave when they get distracted or whatever. But in addition to that distraction that you want to stay away from, in the Two of Wands, this talks specifically about you focusing really on intent when it comes to the future. So you definitely want to spend September dreaming, thinking about where you want to go, what would you like to do, what gets you excited about life, what things would you like to have more in your life. And remember, things do not always have to be about purely like career and love. Like, of course it can be, but sometimes we just want more excitement in our life, or we want more feeling more of a connection to just life in general, or we want more magic, or more maybe we want to take on more hobbies and feel and realize and utilize ourselves as a full individual. I mean, it can be like really anything, but it's you getting in that headspace and sort of planning it out, if you will, thinking about possibilities of how it could happen, thinking about how you want it to happen. But it's a lot of like contemplation that way. So I would definitely get in the habit of like keeping like some sort of like journal or anything that we're gonna like collect these ideas and think about them and organize them, because that's actually going to come really helpful and handy with what we have going on over here in the Eight of Wands. And if you notice, the Eight of Wands have a really interesting way they are put together. Now, the Eight of Wands is all about a lot of opportunities coming into you quickly, which is happening. But here's what's really interesting, and why another reason why I'm an advocate of having multiple tarot decks, because each imagery of the card is going to be different due to the artist, and then it will help you like better get deeper meanings to the cards. But normally with this card, it's usually like several wands all moving at once, like in one direction. But if you notice, these are sort of interlocked. They're all interconnected. Now, the beautiful thing is you're going to attract all these opportunities in September due to this intention with organization. You're building up this energy. You're constantly practicing manifestation. You've gotten rid of those negative thoughts through the exercise we've talked about. You're not distracted. You're really cultivating all this good stuff in the moment, and it's building up to a lot of other bigger things, which is fantastic. But the thing is, it can get a little bit overwhelming because with the Eight of Wands, my spirit guide said that all of these opportunities are connected and that you can actually have them all and you don't have to pick just one, which is really fun and awesome. And that when you have all these opportunities coming your way and you can accept all of them, it's about understanding how do they interconnect and how then, because you're understanding how they can all interconnect, understanding how you then can have them all. And you will have that ability and technique to be able to do that due to all your understanding of planning and connections and so on and so forth. And so you're both cultivating this energy and then understanding how to work with it. Because, and this is just me going a little bit deeper, because that's the beautiful thing when it comes to spirituality. Everything in life has a deeper concept and meaning and understanding. To me, it sounds like you are meant for great things. And when we are becoming the best version of ourselves and getting to experience the fullness of life we've always wanted to, it gets really big and complex. And you know, it is something, you know, it's like in theory you want it, but then you get it and you're like, whoa, okay, this is a lot. How do I like do this? And the beautiful thing is you're basically being prepped to be able to not only understand it and handle it, which is fantastic, but you're also understanding the interconnectings of life, that one opportunity can lead to another. And that once you make that connection, not only are you understanding how everything is intertwined, but you're able to use that to your benefit, to not just receive one thing, but another and another and another and another, and comprehend another and another and another. So you're both developing an ability, but you're also developing an understanding that is being used as an ability, which is not unlike my intuition training course. So I love this for you. It's a fantastic month, lots of manifestations, all that good jazz, and I'm excited for you. Please leave this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps my video get lots of views, and I really appreciate it so much. Either way, I love you. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out your September predictions by looking at the cards. We have the Spark Oracle card in reverse. I wonder what that's about. 8 of Pentacles in reverse. The Tower card in reverse. The 9 of Cups upright. The 5 of Cups in reverse. Fantastic. I love this pairing right here. And the 10 of Wands upright. I can already see what's going on here. Okay, give me just one moment to talk to the crew and also to look at the details of everything. Okay, yeah, these are connected. Oh, I love this. Okay, so let's get into this. This is fantastic. So first, with this Spark card in reverse, it basically talks about the idea, because this has a couple different meanings, so I was just double checking with my spirit guide. Somebody in September is trying to like sort of, I don't know how to put this, like throw water onto your spark, if you will, and which would dampen it and not be great. So this is anybody sort of making comments that sort of feel like they're underlying, or every time you dream, they're always sort of putting on a cynical, what they describe as being realistic, but realistically, there is always a possibility. So they just seem, I'm just don't want you to get your hopes up, that type of thing. It's not exactly what you want, and the beautiful thing is it's totally avoidable. It's something to be aware of, though, because it not only implies that you've got something going on in September, which I love. Like, when we have that inner spark in us, that's really when we're creating some of our best work. I mean, people sense that, and that's why sometimes it can lead others to sort of come out of the woodwork, if you will, and reveal themselves for not really being on your team. And you can quickly go, oh, hi, you unmasked yourself. Okay, I'm gonna have to put some distance between you and me. So this is you feeling amazing, but being aware when others are not adding to that. And that's just a side comment we're gonna extend upon over here in the Eight of Pentacles, but whatever you're experiencing is your own little world. And when you're feeling incredible, I highly recommend surrounding yourself with either individuals or concepts or ideas that add to that. Because when you're feeling that way, when you're feeling that magical spark, that excitement, I feel that excitement usually comes up in the beginning of seasons often. So like the beginning of spring or the beginning of summer or the beginning of fall, there's this sense of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, or I can feel there's all these cool things I could do, or I can feel it in the air. It's like you're picking that up, right? And you can keep surrounding yourself in that environment to keep it growing. Let it go from a spark to a roaring flame, which is really beautiful. Now, it's being suggested that you basically notice when someone's not adding to that. Don't even think about it deeper, just sort of, and you're welcome to think about it deeper, but just be like, you know what, I'm gonna just, see that this is happening, not want this in my environment. Instead, focus your attention towards the Eight of Pentacles. This is, now, I asked my spirit guide if this had anything to do with your career, and they said it's more focused on the idea of something that you do every day to add to your best self. This can be anything. Remember, we do not have to measure things in activities. I'm just going to give a couple, though, as an example, but it can be anything, whether it be like positive things you throw your way, like compliments or mantras. This could be maybe you like to go for a walk every day, and when you go for a walk, you like to connect with nature. Maybe you love to, like this image right here, you like to draw, and you like to regularly work on little images, or maybe even having fun and relax and do like a paint by numbers where you're not even thinking about it or anything like that. So whatever it is, you're going to more redirect this spark that you have within you towards something that you're doing every day that is making you feel like the best version of yourself. And again, it's not about, I want to be clear, we're going to get more into detail about that, especially with what's going on over here, but you want to avoid getting into any headspace where you're like, let's say you want to get healthy, right? And you're like, I'm going to go for a jog every day. It's a good intention, but it's the sort of putting this pressure on yourself that's not the energy we're looking for. It's more low-key. I would definitely try to go for things that are just fun in concept and maybe don't have an overarching intense goal on them. Maybe you just want to do something differently. Maybe you regularly, I don't know, maybe you like to watch a lot of TV. Not that that's necessarily bad, but maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself and get into reading some books or listening to audiobooks or something like that, and you start to do it. Again, you don't have to have a number in mind. Again, it's not a criticism towards watching TV, and in fact, you don't even have to give it up altogether. You just go, you know what, I'm going to enjoy the fun of exploring stories through another method, and you're instead not putting a negative energy towards something else, but you're just sort of exploring something else for fun. You know what I mean? But again, that lack of pressure, and again, you're building up a spark, but you're not putting expectations on the activity you're doing yourself. Now, continuing that concept and idea, that gets really expanded upon over here with what's going on. So I'm really happy to say that we got a Tower card in reverse. This talks about the idea of a long-standing issue or problem, maybe like a regular like self-destructive routine or something you were in, is finally coming to an end. It's been going on for a while and you're like, oh, finally. A very small, minor version of this would be like, let's say you're just having trouble sleeping and you also actively do things to keep yourself awake at night. And you're like, again, we go back to the idea of watching TV. I want to be absolutely clear, it's not negative to watch TV. I'm just using it as an example. I want to be clear, if you enjoy it, have a great time. Who doesn't love it? But just wanted to say that. But anyways, this is like you finally being able to be like, you know what, I'm gonna listen to some quiet, guided meditations or some chill music, and I'm just gonna actively chill out during this time period. And this is something that's been kind of adding up for a while. Maybe it makes you feel a certain way the next day. Maybe the biggest thing I'm heavily picking up from all of these cards is this sort of guilt energy, like this sense of grief that you put upon yourself and pressure for not, like, every day you're like, okay, tomorrow's the day I'm gonna do this. That's a huge reason why we talked about over here of you picking up and doing something new and different and putting your energy towards it without the pressure of it adding up to anything specifically, or putting these expectations or being like, it's gonna equal this. You really wanna just take it day by day as you go. And so this is you overcoming it, but this is where it gets really cool. Not only are you overcoming it in September, this long-standing thing that's been, pulling you down, been bringing you down, but you also simultaneously get a wish to come true. And I was told it was a long, like something you've wanted for a long time wish. The cool thing about this card is not only is it described as the wish card, but this is implying that you not only get what you want, but you get that and then some. So this is sort of like, it was all dream big because you can get that and more, which is really beautiful. But I want to talk about that idea a little bit more with the energy we have going on over here in the Tower card with the Five of Cups in reverse and the Ten of Wands. Again, another beautiful confirmation that finally this is like letting go of grief, letting go of something that's made you really down for a while. But again, all of these cards talk about this idea of like pressure, intensity, something that you've sort of put upon yourself. In the Ten of Wands, this is when somebody is really, this could be expectations you feel others have put upon you. This is I'm getting more of a vibe. Let me just double check with my spirit guides. Yeah, it's more like pressure you're putting upon yourself. But it's this idea that like, I have to measure my worth and myself by how much I do or what I accomplish, or you feel like at the end of the day you have to make this list for yourself of these are the things I've done. And it's sort of being able to free yourself of that and pull off all those expectations and emotions that you had on yourself by getting out of this headspace, and then that being correlated with the Tower card in reverse. Wait, I think these are separate. I think this is something separate, right? Let me just double check my spirit guide. Okay, yeah, these are separate ideas, but they're still similar in that idea of long-standing things separated. But this is a long-standing issue, and then this is just extra stuff that you have that is being let go of, which is really great. So not only are you letting these things go, but you're getting this big wish is really beautiful. But there's something really specific I want to be clear on with the Tower card that my spirit guide was saying. They said that when you're letting go of this big thing, because again, these are two separate things, but they're similar in nature that they're being let go of and that there's something that has been sort of put upon you. But you're going to pay attention to sort of what I'm going to jokingly call the little quiet voice inside you. So I go into a lot of depth in this in one of my recent, I think it was How to Develop Your Psychic Abilities and Mediumship Part 2 on my Patreon. But just to give like a quick version of what I'm specifically talking about. So you have sort of a spiritual anatomy. It's actually quite complex, but this is one sort of component of it, if you will. And so you have your physical mind, physical body, mental mind, mental body, spirit mind, spirit body. And your spirit mind and your spirit body is all the stuff that can recognize and understand and connect to like the spirit realm, sort of energy, things unseen. It's definitely the part of you that connects to like bigger concepts, 5D thinking, that type of that total concept and idea and all that good jazz. So anyways, But that part of you is not able to come out unless you give it attention. And again, it often can be sort of pushed aside or not able to be heard if the other parts of you are given too much attention, again, in the physical mind, physical body. So this is anything where like you only believe it if you can see it with your two eyes, if you can only believe it if it comes in some sort of definitive proof in a physical way, rather than realizing there's different ways of perceiving things kind of way. Being able to only respond to your first emotion or feeling rather than breaking that down and figuring out what that means, what that, how that sort of adds up and connects to other things. That would again be like a more spirit mind versus physical mind type of way of perceiving things. And again, physical mind is this reactionary part of you, and the spirit mind is the like bigger understanding of it all. So that the little voice, aka the spirit mind, spirit body, that's the part of you that slows down and tunes into yourself. And again, it's not about expectations. It's the physical mind goes, I'm going to do X amount a day. I'm going to do this, and this. This is my list. And this is you coming out of that mindset and stopping and in each present moment going, well, what would I really like to do? And slowing down and learning to build a different connection and belief system through being tuned in and realizing like you already know what's going on. You already know what to do. Like a good example would be like, let's say you want to incorporate again more exercise into your life. Instead of being like, I'm gonna run 3 miles a day, it's like stopping and slowing down and just tuning into yourself and being like, maybe I'd like to go for a little more of a walk, so I'm going to park my car, further away, and I'm going to go for a little further of a walk to the destination I'm going to. Or being like, you know what, I'm actually more down with going for a walk, and like, I'll just see if it's a mile, that's fine, who cares? And maybe you lose yourself in it, and you end up doing 5 miles, or you do 1 mile, but you do it consistently. Again, it's the slowing down, it's the taking away the numbers, it's the like tuning into yourself and saying, what do I want? And just taking a moment. And when we say slowing down, we're talking about the idea of like, you stop, you be quiet, you ask yourself something, you pause, you tune into your body, you tune into your mind, and you think and you feel and you say, what is it that I want? And it can take like 30 seconds, like give it a second, give it a moment, but you're regularly tuning into that throughout the day and just doing that and trusting that it's all adding up towards something. So love that for you. Love all of that, taking off all of this intense, sort of like weight on your shoulders type of vibe, energy, all going away. Very happy about that. Long standing things that have been in your way going away, but also things that you've wanted for a long time coming your way. Getting rid of people that don't really work for you, but also doing incredibly well and then adding to that. So love that for you in September. Please, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out so much, helps my channel get lots of views. I appreciate it so much. Either way, I love you. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's look at your September predictions by looking at the cards. We have your Oracle card, Encouragement in reverse. The 3 of Swords upright. The King of Cups in reverse. The 6 of Pentacles upright. The 2 of Cups upright. And the 4 of Swords upright. Okay. Interesting. Okay, give me one moment to look at the details of these cards and to consult my spirit guides. Okay. All right, so we're going to have to discuss some difficult things, but it is for the greater good, so hang on tight. I've got some positive stuff, but some things to keep in mind, if you will, in order to have other stuff happen, and some stuff that you can go into directionally that will make it a lot more comfortable and better. So this is kind of like the main difficult thing that we're going to talk about over here, these trio of cards. Now, here's the thing. I just want you to keep in mind before we're going to go into this, that the beautiful thing about tarot is it gives you what you need, maybe not what you want, which is very synopsis here with this oracle card. And it's fantastic because it can actually let you know when maybe things are not exactly as you want them to be. And when we can foresee that, we can pre-work on it and then essentially prevent it, make it easier. Basically, we take the control back into our own hands by being self-aware, looking into some things, and facing it head on. So just keep that in mind. So we have this going on here. We have two sort of reactions, if you will, of the main component. So let me just double check one more thing and then I'll go into it. I'm not trying to hold suspense. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is a beforehand. That's what I thought. Okay, so prior to September, something has happened. I'm being told that right now, even in like September, you're not really ready to face such a difficult, maybe like something that happened in the past, it's something that it's very sensitive for you, so much so that these are sort of the reactions you're having around it, and that what we're going to do is we're going to talk about those because it's just, you're not in the right place to deal with it head on. And that's okay. It takes time to face, whatever we've been through, and that's all right. But in the meantime, at least we can look at some of the reactions, understanding that the reactions came from a particular place, and sort of dealing at least with those reactions in order to make it more comfortable and even potentially change them around. So first we have encouragement in reverse. This is when an individual has sort of fallen into the trap of false courage, if you will. This is kind of a complex one to explain, but the best way I can explain it is you're going into something with too much, I don't want to say we'll just say false courage like we talked about before. And that you somewhere along the way were not listening to the truth, what was at hand, your intuition, and you kind of blindly were moving forward and forcing something to happen that wasn't meant to happen or something like that. So it's like the signs are all around you, but you're still refusing to see them, and it's not a fun place to be in because it's like you're trying to keep up this mindset of being like, nope, it's gonna work, it's gonna happen, and there's some small part of you that's seeing that it's not, and you're not allowing yourself to, so you're noticing that you're not moving forward, and you can just feel this disjointedness, but you're afraid to face the disjointedness. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. Don't worry, we're going to go into, how to remedy that. And then over here with the King of Cups in reverse, this is when an individual can find themselves envious of others. They often get into the idea of wanting control. Usually, and understandably, because this is an emotional-based card, that control is coming from feeling out of control based on, again, whatever, I'm going to treat this with the most sensitivity and care because this feels very serious, whatever happened. Oh God, I'm gonna cry. Hold on. I have to sort of keep my emotions in check, or tarot is a lot more intense to read. So give me a second. Hold on. Okay. So because this is intense, an individual will want control because they feel out of control, which is understandable. But that doesn't feel good to feel envious of others. It doesn't feel good to want control. It doesn't feel good to force something and sort of ignore the parts of yourself that you're almost, maybe, again, I want to be as sensitive as possible, but maybe you're afraid to face that intuitive part of yourself because maybe someone hurt that side of you, and you're afraid to sort of face it and deal with it because it's a little intense right now. It kind of brings up other things, so to speak, and that's understandable. So some of that remedy is over here, what we're going to talk about in the Six of Pentacles and the Four of Swords upright. But I do want to point out that it would be a good time when it comes to the King of Cups situation we were just saying, that you sort of slow down when you find yourself in that headspace. And sometimes doing the opposite can really help. So sometimes it's not just about like reassuring yourself in the moment something positive, but almost giving yourself a second to just sort of meditate. You know, just as I just did right now, that's a good example. Just stop, breathe, take a couple breaths, clear your head, just take a moment before you have a reaction. And just take a second to breathe, calm down, relax, and then maybe redirect your attention somewhere else for just the time being. Again, we're not talking about avoiding bigger questions to ask yourself or anything like that. But if right now you're kind of at a point where it's just all too much, it'd be a good time to decompress, maybe just relax, not think of anything at all, and just let your brain naturally slip into the happiness and wonder that's around you, the things that you do love. You know, again, a good example is like you're feeling a certain way and then you go for a walk in nature. You're not forcing yourself to see all the beautiful things. You're just chilling out, you're relaxing, you're looking at it, you're not having any opinions. But it is natural along the walk to be like, oh, this is nice. The trees are nice. And then maybe if you feel ready to, that would be a good time to say some nice things about yourself or say some nice things about your surroundings or something like that. And again, you're just kind of pulling yourself out of a chain of thought process, because anything that involves an answer to this is sort of an unanswerable answer. So the more you try to be like, this is all the reasons why I do need control or I shouldn't have control, you're not going to come at it with a clear head is the best way I can put it. So it's just sort of like pulling back, decompressing, taking a second to reset yourself, and then be able to either approach it again in a different headspace or, you know, just taking a break from that mindset and getting more in touch with yourself rather than exercising an emotion that is not making you feel most connected to yourself. You know what I mean? And again, I don't mean to harp on this for too long. Well, I'm not harping, but talk about it too long. But one of the most uncomfortable things I feel like with this type of emotional mindset is you don't feel like yourself. So you're taking a moment to feel like yourself, because when all is said is done and your head is clear, you are you, and you're beautiful, you're enough, you're safe, everything's okay. So just want to be clear about that. Over here with the encouragement, this would be a good time to sort of back away from those type of circumstances you're finding yourself in. And it's not about, again, seeing it as giving up or moving forward. Again, you're pulling yourself out of that conversation and you're instead becoming more in touch with your intuition. There's so many different ways you can get in touch with your intuition. Oh my goodness, I should definitely do a video about this. Yes, I should definitely do this. Okay, I'm just mentally saying that out loud so I remember. Also, if you're interested, please leave a comment below. I would love to do one. But just a couple examples of just some really light ways you can get into intuition. You're welcome to work with a pendulum, super easy peasy. And you can literally say, hey, when I'm using this pendulum, I'm gonna talk to my inner self. I'm gonna talk to my inner self. And you can ask yes or no questions. You can do tarot. Again, when you're doing tarot, you can talk to, you can talk to your spirit guides, but you can also do tarot with your inner self. So you can do tarot and ask maybe, and keep it simple, just pull like one card. And keep in mind, if you get a card that's maybe not the most positive, don't freak out, slow down. There's other ways to see the circumstance. Maybe pull another card and ask, why is that the card you're receiving, so on and so forth. And as you move forward thinking about things, just slow down and get in touch with yourself that way. Oh, also another one is if you stand kind of in the middle balancing version of yourself and you're just kind of letting yourself ask yes or no questions, and if you lightly lean a little more forward or you lightly lean a little more back, it's sort of your inner body answering. But I'd be careful about that one. I think it just depends on who you are and your circumstances, so you get what I'm saying. But this is just some light ways that you can kind of slow down, get in touch with yourself again, very peacefully, relax, you know, so on and so forth. Then over here, we have in the Six of Pentacles, over September, you are going to be becoming more involved with other people, giving them a lot of your time and energy. And I was told it was not necessarily a negative thing. Nobody's using you. It's not a bad thing. It's sort of like offering your help and having fun. And it feels almost like you're getting to take a break from yourself, if you will, without avoiding yourself. It's more like getting to know yourself better and giving yourself an opportunity to realize what you have to offer is quite special and people really appreciate it, and connecting to that idea by firsthand experience. So definitely, as you notice, like your friends are like, hey, I need help with this or something like that, offer it, and you're going to have a great time doing it. And it's just kind of a focal point of both distraction but also reconnection, which is really beautiful. Going on now, the thing is, I will say this is only going to happen. Sorry, let me make this a little clearer. This is only going to happen if this stuff is actively worked on. But there is actually somebody romantically kind of hanging out in the wings, and they actually really get where you're coming from. Two of Cups is amazing because it's a very equal sort of interaction. It's equal in energy, in effort on both sides. It's equal in a lot of ways, which is super beautiful. But this is somebody who understands where you've been through, and it's more than just being like they have compassion. There's a potential for empathy too. They get it, basically. So anyways, this individual though really is only open to coming into your life if this other stuff is regularly being focused on throughout the month. So again, a lot of decompressing, a lot of tuning into yourself, a lot of just like taking care of yourself in these different ways we talked about, then this individual will come in. But if you only are giving into these thoughts constantly and only pushing forward, again, I want to be absolutely clear. It's not a criticism. It's understandable why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and you're not bad, you're not doing anything wrong if you don't do it. We're just trying to make it more comfortable for you, because when you're sort of in that state of mind, it's like, I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is sort of being like, this is why you're doing what you're doing, and here's some sort of at least little ways of, you know, facing it for the time being again. So again, giving us a little bit of, you know, any kind of effort, you know, actively work on it, actively, you know, make yourself feel better. This individual is waiting in the wings, which is really beautiful. And then last but not least, Four of Swords, really plain and simple. This is about relaxation. It's about taking breaks. It's about, and this is the big thing, my spirit guide said, it's about realizing to not take things so seriously, that life is not as serious as maybe it sometimes feels. But we can only see that if we sort of sit back and we see the bigger picture. Our head's clear enough to see things in a different perspective. But we can only see the different perspective. We can only see the bigger picture if we're sort of doing nothing. So this is very much the prompting and sort of the foretelling of you taking a lot of breaks. So definitely feel free to, you know, take your days off. Definitely feel free to have lots of afternoons where you're doing nothing but sitting in your backyard or just hanging out, and just let your mind be relaxingly blank, and let yourself be able to then reflect on things in this manner. But again, it's mostly just about sleeping, hanging out, chilling, vibing, no pressure. It's basically saying like, now is a fantastic time during September to take that decompression time, because you deserve it. So I love this for you because we're talking about some things that can make the experience more comfortable. We've talked about some focuses and a potential somebody that's waiting for you when you do the work. So I'm really excited for you to feel a little more like you. I love you so much. Also, if you like this video, please give it a like, a comment, subscribe. It helps out like you would not believe, and helps this video get lots of views and all that good jazz. But either way, have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.